playing at one time?
I did not. I would love to see that. I'll have to go
Yeah,
look.
yeah, I posted it. It was great. I hadn't seen that in a long time. That was when Zappa played Saturday Night Live. The
Oh
old
yeah,
guy.
yeah. I probably have seen that one. That's when he didn't do very well, or
But
they didn't
yeah,
want him back for
and
the show.
Belushi came with his samurai outfit, and he had a wireless microphone attached to his guitar, and just started singing you know like the orchestra. So it
Well,
was
there you go.
it was a
There you
classic.
go. And now remember, everything you hear today is an opinion, so do your own research. Welcome, everybody, to Thinking Out Loud with Friends. This is a great group of friends, and you can be part of us. All you got to do is DM any one of us in the group, and we'll send you a link, So that's there it is. Hi, Chris. How you doing there?
Yeah. No, as I was trying to say, I went down to Mastermind this morning. They had a course on the Shure Axient platform. Pretty interesting stuff. Insanely complex. It was like a whole bunch of RF coordinators, and I was blown away by how much of the IT world comes into play when you're doing wireless these days. It's just unbelievable. The amount of knowledge you have to have between mixing, monitors, in-ears. I mean, it's nuts, man.
Yeah, but Chris, I think that's why now you're seeing on major tours that they have people that's their job.
Yeah.
That's their gig.
They had a guy there today. He's an RF coordinator. That's all he does.
Yep.
Goes chats with the venue. The venue gives him a list of problematic frequency zones, and then you basically type that into an exclusion list, and then the box scans for the noise floor and looks at all the different frequency levels, and then you put in the permissible frequency ranges and kind of describe, and then you hit go, and then it green lights all your frequencies. Additionally, you can put in backup frequencies, which is very cool, so that if some jerk has a Baofeng radio and starts transmitting on your frequency in the crowd, it just flips over to a backup frequency. Probably the coolest thing is the fact that these new Shure packs for in-ears have
the Axient ones.
Yeah, they have an out-of-band management. So in other words, you get telemetry off, you can program it on an out-of-band management frequency, so that if your UHF stuff gets screwed up, you don't lose contact with the pack, and you can move it, reprogram it, change the volume, lock, and you can do whatever you want remotely. It's pretty darn impressive.
So it's not 100% digital then. You're not
the transmission of UHF is digital. I don't know what they're doing for the out-of-band backhaul stuff, but it's cryptoed, so no one else can do that.
It's all digital, Greg. It's the Axient digital stuff's been out for a little while. I'm actually going to go see the new Sennheiser WMAS stuff on Tuesday. The Spectra that Joe Chardelli told us about a couple weeks ago. That's now been on the market for 3 weeks.
Whereabouts is that, Fred?
They're having a demonstration. Clearwing is having a demonstration at Gamage at ASU on Tuesday in the morning and the afternoon. So I'm going to go get to see that new system. But it basically, it's a bidirectional system. It takes up a whole TV channel. So you don't need a frequency coordinator anymore. You just need to know you got to find an open UHF channel. That's all you need to know. The system takes care of everything else.
Ooh. And how refresh me, how many channels did Joe say it? I mean, how many devices that you can have going on?
I believe the high quality channels, you get 32 in each direction. You get 32 mics, 32 IEMs, but you can downgrade the audio
mics
quality.
Or guitars. Yeah.
You can downgrade the audio quality and get more.
Right.
Is that per unit, or is that for the total amount of the system can handle?
per spectrum channel.
per UHF
Wow.
channel. Yeah, so you can. I think you can do up to 128 devices if you run them at like, you're just talking voices. You're not worried.
Yeah, if you
you're trying
use
to worry
narrow.
about singers. You're just going and doing a big corporate event and you just need people to talk. You could basically have 128 microphones. I think. I'm going to learn about it on Tuesday.
Yeah, they offer, so yeah, you're absolutely right. They offer, narrow channels for, for voice, and then wider channels for other uses. But the Shure, just listen to this, it's pretty insane, goes from 470 to 608 megahertz.
Yeah, they've got there's pretty much does the whole.
That's a wide swath of bandwidth.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
the
looking
Accent
at there's the picture I took of it this morning.
Yeah, the Accent Digital
There
stuff
it is.
does go pretty far. But the Sennheiser ones have 3 different bands. They do UHF, I believe they do a 900 megahertz, and then they do a 1.3, I believe.
Oh,
And
wow.
so they're licensed. You have to buy a license, and it's a timed license deal. So
That's where
you
it's
tell somebody-
coordinated, right? With
it's
the
coordinated with the
Yeah.
people who own that spectrum.
yeah, there's a clearinghouse because that's the same frequency as they use to test aircraft in.
Yes.
Will
Vinny.
Shure do bidirectional on the
The Accent Digital does not, but their version of WMAS will. I don't know what theirs is called. Sennheiser's is called Spectra.
Okay, I know, but I was asking Chris about the Shure version. I knew about Fred. I was aware about the Sennheiser one. That's why I was asking about the Shure one.
Yeah, so
I don't know
Shure has 2 boxes that you strap to your body. One is a receiver and one is a transmitter, and never shall the twain meet.
Yeah, see, that Accent Digital is the old, it's the original way. It's 2, you still have to frequency coordinate it. You still have to, it's 2 separate systems, whereas their WMAS, they're going to come out with one. I just don't know that they've released it yet.
Greg is showing us the unit right now, by the way.
Yes, that's exactly what I was playing
Wow.
with this morning. That exact unit.
Hold on, Greg. Just hold it up there while I pin you to the screen so everyone can see what you're showing.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
B15.
I've been using them for about 4 or 5 years now. The Accent Digital stuff it's
Yeah,
been
that's
out for a while.
that's the backside of that.
Okay.
unit. Yeah, there you go.
I love it, and you could use these to play bingo because it says B15 rate. That's great, unbelievable.
No.
B15
How do you
bingo.
like it, Gregory? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Greg today is doing the Marcel Marceau imitation.
Oh yeah, he's working.
Because he's working, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, that's it's pretty groovy stuff. The battery life's about 5 hours. Each of the he's there. Oh, well, so he's at Mastermind. Okay, yeah, I'm wondering if I didn't run into you and didn't recognize you. I was there at about 2. I just finished lunch and then drove out. How funny!
Yes, you did. Did you see the chat? We met at the room.
Oh wow!
You must have had your cow hat on.
Yeah, I was to be
Yeah,
honest.
what were you wearing?
Completely spaced out that I had, the thing this morning. I got up and I'm like, God, don't I? Oh, I had to, I was like, literally swallowed a cup of coffee and got out the door and got there about 20 minutes late.
But
it was very interesting, I have to say. I mean, it's complex, but very powerful capabilities, and you got to understand the user interface for the software for the box. But once you get that, you pretty much just kind of click deploy, and like all of your stuff just gets propagated out to the different units, and software upgrades, all of it. It's pretty nifty.
the question remains, though, will it sound good? Will it sound compressed?
Well, so
the
that's a great question. So the guy, just so you know, So the back of the box, the main box, has, analog inputs, but it also has two Dante ports. So you can, these boxes run, I believe they said it's around 2.6 milliseconds of delay if you're running it digitally. But I think if you use Dante, because you're already digital, that delay probably gets reduced slightly because there's no analog to digital conversion being made. But honestly, it's groovy stuff. I really dug it. But if I'm correct, it's around MSRP about $4,000 per box if you're going to get 6 IEM boxes, but it actually may work out less. I think that's got some extra stuff in it, but
Well, in my corner of the world, I think the PSM 1000 was
exactly
working about 2,500 Canadian a channel. So, for that upgrade in capabilities, that would kind of make sense. Yeah.
I'm just going to see if I've got, I don't think
Yep.
I didn't snap a picture of the back of the box, but it's pretty straightforward. I think there are 8 analog ends, and then it's got 2 Dantes. And with Dante, you can just push the limits of the unit. So the guy next to me actually, had a whole bunch of computers with him and stuff. So he actually was sending music, Dante, to his little IEM box and was listening through his headphones. Said it sounded great, particularly if you use the wide channel availability. Then you get pretty decent fidelity.
The real question is, between Claire and Sweetwater, how many are left for the rest of us? They're gonna scoop them all up.
The Axiom Digital stuff, Craig, it's like I said, it's about 4 years out there. I mean, it's pretty industry wide now.
Okay.
And the quad receiver on the mic side is pretty cool. I mean, it's
Oh yeah. So
a coughing fit.
Gee whiz, the 4-channel wireless receiver, gee whiz, yeah, it's 7,800 on Sweetwater.
I wonder what it is on SoundBroker. Oh, well.
Here it
check.
is.
Oh, it must be
Oh,
$1,100.
Can you do about 4,500? 4,500? I'll do that deal.
Yeah, sorry, it's saying that it's the ADTQ, which is the one that we played with today, from 470 to 608, is listing at 10,120. And each of the wireless little packs for IEMs are 1,837. So this stuff's, priced kind of like Meyer Sound.
Well, Fred, if you're going to get into the rental business, let me know. I'll help you out a little bit,
I was actually talking to somebody at the thing today, and I was just like, my God, can you imagine the CapEx to start a rental business these days?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. A lot of people call me up and they want to buy something, they're getting started. They have an idea and they want to, like, for example, today, to get started, to be competitive, you're looking at least $2-3 million. If you want to get a rig, a D&B, an L acoustic, a Meyer rig, then all the Shure stuff, then the consoles, the lighting, all
Power
of the staging,
distribution.
power
Video wall.
distribution, you're looking at a couple of million just to get started.
Easy. Plus,
And so I tell people,
ATA cases, just the ATA cases alone, the cables, the power supplies, all of this stuff is just like, man.
And I think,
yeah, but the good thing about the ATA cases is that if you spend all your money, you have no place to live. Now you have a place where you could sleep in an ATA case.
There you go.
I think one of the bigger challenges also is it's going to be, you need the personnel and you need qualified personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only that, but I'm not sure if you feel the same way as I do. I feel that people quality is more important than,
Absolutely.
talent people. So
no one's going to rent from you unless you've got a good relationship with them and they trust you, because that's it.
I don't know. It's like the
Kurt-
old days. I remember, I think it was Milton Berle or Henny Youngman or whatever he says. He goes to the airport and he says, I got 3 suitcases. I want you to send this one to Saudi Arabia. I want you to send you this one to New York and this one to Texas. And the woman says, we can't do that. And he says, you did it yesterday. So it's like you got to have.
But
Wow,
you know,
Milton
I
Berle,
remember,
good for you,
Kurt
Milton.
saying quite a few sessions ago, that's, with his business in the Northwest, that's one of his biggest challenges, because he gets a lot of young people and all they want to do is mix front of house. That's all they want to do. They got Pro Tools in their basement and everything like that. Nobody's interested in array design or, all of that, all that. They want to be out there, at front of house throwing faders. And he's like,
Well,
thank you.
yeah.
Well, Greg, I just want to let you know, for those people, I want them to go to soundbroker.com. We're having a special this week on white gloves. White gloves. If you want to buy some white gloves, come to soundbroker.com. There you go. Okay.
I give lectures at college, and annual. I give one lecture a year. And last year, there was most of the students, they're not sure, live studio, blah blah blah. One of them, a young lady, she had like her mind set on becoming an A2. And I mean, it was so beautiful to see somebody at that level. Like, she doesn't care about mixing, she doesn't care about anything else. She wants to be an A2. And
Wow.
I thought, wow, that she's already set her goal, that she's already doing IA calls. So she knows, she sees what's going on. And like, her goal was, I want to be an A2. And I veered my conversation, like my conference, and seeing if I can throw things at her to help the conversation. But I was really impressed with her.
Oh, by the way, just an FYI, I just looked at our inventory. Due to tariff restrictions, we're running short on right gloves. We only have an abundance of left gloves. So we'll be back ordered on the right glove. That's it.
Well, yeah, because you figure, yeah.
By the way, Josh just walked into the room. Josh, are you available? Because Josh is, you look at us, you look at Josh, you look at Greg, Josh is Josh was, when we first met Josh, he was the head cook at McDonald's. I think he was either that or he was the greeter. I'm not sure what he was doing at McDonald's. What were you doing at McDonald's?
Well, I was doing everything.
And so you had a desire to be in the sound business. So tell me a little bit about that.
I started doing sound when I was in, I think, maybe 6th grade in school, and just took an hour to it and started doing it in school in local church, and took off and got connected with a company about almost 20 years ago. Been working for them ever since, and then I started my own. So been doing good. I'm doing a setup right now in a ballroom in a hotel. So we're setting up tonight. So I figured I'd jump on for a little bit.
Yep.
How many pair of white gloves do you own?
Here, I'll show you what I own. I'll show you.
Yeah.
I just own 1 pair.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And they're not white, you see.
They're black and red.
Yeah. His desire to be in the business. But that's another thing, Greg. You see, so the best training ground for these people is not Full Sail, but the best training ground is the local church,
or the local club.
What local club?
Any local club that has live. That's how I learned years ago. I happened to work at a very famous local club, but nonetheless, I was lucky enough then, and I didn't know crap. And 5 years, 7 nights, doing gigs, and all of a sudden, people are like going, "Hey, what are you doing next week? We're playing this gig. We're playing that gig. We're doing that, and there's Practical experience means a lot.
That's
And
right. It sure does. It sure does. A practical experience means a lot. But it's good to have, the new, I mean, we got two new people in the room. I mean, basically, we got Greg, not you, Greg Baker, but Gregory, who wants to get into this business. And so there's new blood. There's new fresh blood.
Yep.
But
The rules are when Gregory and I are in the same room, I'm Greg and he's Gregory. We worked
I
that
call
out.
you Florida. Okay, Florida. There you go. Hey, one thing I want to ask Josh, and then Gregory, if you could answer this as well. But what are you seeing right now? Because you are now in the field as a newbie, more or less. How are you seeing artificial intelligence affect your life, or do you see it affecting the sound business at all?
It hasn't affected me other than I get scam text messages. People somehow figure out my name and where I live, and I get text messages saying, "Oh, final notice on this and this," but they're all scams. But AI really hasn't hit me hard yet. I mean, it really hasn't affected me.
Do you see it as could you see it as it's going to infiltrate? It's infiltrating everywhere, so I'm assuming that it's going to
Up
infiltrate our sound
where
industry
I'm,
and our
yeah,
production world.
where I am, AI really isn't big yet. I'm up in the northern part, up in Wisconsin. So we really haven't had much AI affected us up here. It hasn't really hit this area or market yet up here. But I mean, it's coming. I know that, but I haven't seen any effects on it yet in our area.
Well, let's talk about like we were talking about the in-ears a little while ago. I mean, am I correct in saying that in-ear monitors will prevent feedback? The artist is not going to get feedback even if the engineer makes a mistake. Is it smart
I
enough to
agree
do
with
that
that because
to protect the
because
artist's
it's going
ears?
to be it would be in their ears. So if they have any issues, it's going to be, I've had issues with artisan with ears where I give them a good mix and then they go on their belt pack and jack it up and it's like it's too loud, turn it down, and I'll back it down and they turn it down on their belt pack and then they can't hear. I mean, that's the only major issue. I haven't had anything with feedback in it yet. I mean, it they, in ears the way it is, it goes right in your ear like a headphone. So you could put the mic right next to it and it's not going to feed back. And I mean, I tried it and it never fed back yet.
Right. So you see, so artificial intelligence, even though it's not artificial yet, but it is intelligent systems that prevent that from hurting the ear,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
eventually it's
And
going to
it's a
get
great thing
into,
because then you don't have the nice thing about what I like about in ears, if you're doing a band and especially if there's no amps on stage, you don't have any stage volume other than maybe drums. And I mean, you can walk on stage with in ears and it's quiet and you don't have to worry about this person saying, well, that person's monitor is too loud or that person's guitar amp is too loud. I mean, I still work with a band that has that type of issue where the bass player, he has his monitor amp and then he's got an amp head in a monitor form shooting right at him. So he's getting double bass and he's got it so loud that the piano player that stands right next to him is like, dude, you got to turn this down. And I'm like, dude, it's not even in your monitor. It's coming out of his. It just bleeds over. So now they're switching over. Now the piano player is switching over to in ears because he just doesn't want to hear the bass player's monitor. You know,
But
I don't
there you
miss the
go.
Joshua,
monitor wedges.
but Joshua, like
Yes.
I get the beauty of, no stage volume. I get the beauty of no feedback. But I mean, the problem with in-ear, the way I see it, is to do a band without, like to do a band in a festival setup, we got 15, 20 minutes. How do you make sure that everybody gets to hear what they need to hear, in a rush of a festival situation? I mean, you're guessing what the monitor mixes are going to be. You're guessing what the artist is going to want to hear, right?
Yes and no. A lot of festivals I've done, if they have in-ears, they'll come in with their own monitor rack. If a band comes in and said, "Hey, we're playing this venue, and we're coming in with in-ears," a lot of times they'll bring their own rack and they'll just send a feed out to like from their rack to me, so that I have their instruments. We split the signal at their rack, so then they have their 16, 24, 32, 64 channels or whatever they're running, and then they feed a feeder line to me, and I plug it in and then they just give it to me. And a lot of times too, what I'll do is if I have a couple of them or they're I like 4 bands in one day or 3 bands in a night, what I'll do is the headliner band gets there early in the morning. Usually they have all their own sound guy, monitor guy. They set up sound check. Then the next band comes in, sets up in front of them. We line check them, get them set for their in-ear, save their setting on our board, on our digital board. And then when the opening band comes in, you know, a lot of times the opening band will just, their sound check is like 5 minutes before they're supposed to start. We'll do a quick sound check. They'll tell us, okay, we want this, this, and this in our ears. I'll throw it in there, or in their wedges, throw it in there, and we're good to go. And then we just save it. So we basically save each band. We do a quick check before the venue even opens, and then we just save it. And then when they're up, we just recall it. So
I
this
know,
way
but
it's the same settings.
so what you're telling me is you're able to grasp what 4, 5, or 6 musicians want in a 5-minute, 10-minute, you know, parlay session, and that they're going to be good to go because you're going to have guessed what they're going to want to hear in their in-ear.
Yes, and I've been working with a lot of groups now that are coming in, and we're all having my board, and I'll go, what kind of board do you have? And I'll tell them, you know, like a DM7 or a Wing or whatever, and they'll go, oh, we have an iPad and we have the app for that. Can we just sync to your board? And I'll put my router on. They log right into my board, and I say, okay, your aux mix number 4 or whatever, and they just log in and they mix their own. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of that with bands too, where bands are just coming in and they bring their own iPad or their phone in and say, oh, we got this app on our phone or on our iPad. And I'm like, okay, here's the passcode, log in. I set them up. And then when they can adjust their ears before they even practice. And it's literally like not even a 5-minute sound check. They quick do a set check, make sure everybody's good, make sure front of house is good, and we go. You know,
Wow.
digital boards have made it so easy nowadays for sound check, especially with all the apps out there.
Yeah.
That's what all my pals are doing. They've got these little Midas M32s. They got a little package with their wireless. Everything's there. They just get a feed off the front of house, and off they go. And each of them has their own little device, a mobile phone or a small iPad to regulate their own mix. And boom.
Well, Dan, you put together David's system with Hotel California, or you helped put it together, get the gear.
David put it together. I just provided the gear.
We can't hear you, David, unfortunately. Whatever, but I'll just describe it. I saw it just north of me here, and it's wonderful. They have a single rack on the side of the stage with the Yamaha mixer, and underneath it is all the wirelesses. And it's split to whatever house system that's there, and the band take care of all their mixes. David doesn't have to deal with it as long as all the mics are there, and it's great, you know.
And no issues, Gregory and Joshua. So nobody's looking after the wireless system. I mean, they just check the frequencies when they load it in, and life is beautiful, and no wireless issues pop up.
What I use is, because I have Workbench, which is Shure program, and I run that. So what I'll do is, as soon as I get to the venue and set up before anybody's there, I'll go on there, and then I'll link all my wireless to that, hook it up to that, and then I can go on there and it will scan all the frequencies in the area and and then whatever ones are good, it steals them and throws them into my in my wireless system, so I don't have any issues. Now with wireless in-ears, you can network them to a proceed, but in order to program them, you gotta go online. You can't, your computer can't program them. The ones I have the PSM 900, so I can't network them in there. So what I do is I go on my software, my computer, and I say I got like 8 PSM 900s on 8 different frequencies or channels. And then what I do is it'll scan where I'm at, look for the frequencies that are good, and then it'll tell me. And then I just have to go into the wireless transmitter on the rack and program it there, or on the wireless receiver, and then sync it to the rack.
Right.
And that's exactly what we did this morning. We did the scan, saw the noise floor, thing just picks out the frequencies, and green, and you're ready to roll.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to be doing probably later tonight. I'm doing an event in a convention center, a big women's conference, and we're running monitors. We have 4 monitor wedges across the front of the stage, and then the band has all in-ears. I'm running a Behringer Wing with a bunch of their P16s. So the band just basically mixes their own on the P16. So they can
Yeah.
start playing and they can do whatever they want. And if I got a line check, I don't have to adjust them. They just adjust their own on their little modules, and it
That's
makes life so much easier.
yeah,
Uh,
that's great. And that really comes down to band dynamics. I mean, because there's so many times to where there's a guitar player who wants, keeps fiddling with his own in-ear mixes and doesn't pay attention. There's, in other words, there's a musician who wants to be a sound person rather than being a musician.
Yep.
and that's what I noticed with Hotel California, where there was a leader of the band, and the in-ear and the mixer for the monitors was next to him. And so if the band wanted to change things, fine, but it wasn't somebody. That's the danger. You give a musician a toy to play with, they're going to play with it.
So I have a question.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
I have a question in general. When you're doing a festival and you've got, and there's no setup time, they just come in and you might have a sheet for them or whatever, but they bring their own rack, like whether it be a Behringer or whatever, you've still got to either give them a digital patch or an analog patch. In 15 minutes or 20 minutes changeover, so many accidental errors can happen. And then once you start it, you can't fix it. Does that happen to people? It must happen.
Oh, yeah.
It must happen.
I've done festivals to where, they flip-flop consoles, where your band's on stage, that's the A console, and then you're on the B console doing line checks, getting ready to go. And then when you're going to go on stage, you're supposed to change over to the B console. Sometimes that doesn't happen.
Because I've noticed that in a few festivals I've read where they, I don't know, just even the medium ones, 5,000, they run, so some of the bands come in with their rack. A lot of the bands come in with their rack, which is all set up, and they've still got to get the physical mic input somewhere. Mm-hmm. But then they run their own console out front. So the festival production provider runs all these extra Ethernet cables so that they can just patch their. It must be a technical nightmare now. The festival
I've done
mode.
an outdoor show where there was 18 front of house consoles.
Wow!
And thank God I wasn't. I didn't have. All I had to do was go to my assigned console. And do a 10-minute set, But God help the A2.
Yeah. I mean, think about an award show where they have so many consoles as well, where they have to change because they have so many different acts changing, like the Grammys or the Oscars or wherever there's a lot of going on.
A lot of prep
but
there,
Jan, I remember this conversation and the other Zoom that we were at. They were doing the Grammys, and the gig was, it's simple. It's on a Digico. There's no option. It's Digico operators. And if you're not a Digico operator, then you're not on the gig. And it was a Digico, that was it. And I remember they were looking for people, and they actually offered the gig to Robert, to Scoville, and to some other people. I think Sully even. And those guys said, no, not going to be forced into a Digico. That's not our part of our world, and we're not going to go there. So guys of that level were trying to, the production company were trying to squeeze guys of that level into those consoles. And to me, that kind of sucks,
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yeah, David, we hear you now.
Talk to us about Hotel California's rig.
Well, we ended up buying the PSMs like 4 or 5 months before they announced the digital PSM. So we all got really upset about that. But anyway, it's got the Axiom mics, for the inputs. It's got the IEM PM1000s for the outputs. It's got the console. We carry our own mics. So, and the musicians set them up themselves. So the mics are always the same place every show. So there's hardly anything they have to do. 3 antennas through the combiners, a UPS to keep it alive. And we just roll in and we're ready to go in 15 minutes.
Right, but don't you run? You have a guy on stage that runs workbench when you first get in during setup, right?
Actually, we don't need the workbench. We just have the mics do it themselves with the built-in program, and we haven't had a problem yet. I mean, he wants to hook up workbench occasionally because he wants to learn how to use it,
Right.
but we don't need it. It's all that fast. You just hit the button, let it do the scanning, and program each of the transmitters and receivers, and bam, you're ready to go. It's like a dream. And I can wear white gloves.
Which he happened to have bought from SOUNDBROKER.com. No.
At a discount.
Yeah,
you know me too well, Greg. You know me too well.
I mean, yeah, we do. I help unload the bus and push the stuff in, but basically, George, who runs the band, says, "Let the kids push the heavy stuff. Don't worry about that."
But yes, if you're a guest of the band, you must help load the bus.
That's true. We make all our guests load.
Yeah.
Nobody gets away.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot of guitars to carry up into that bus.
David, do the band have some form of tablet or pad control to do their mixes, to tweak their mixes?
Are you talking about the monitor mixer?
Yeah.
No, they walk off stage and, it's right there on the edge of the stage. So if they do have to do something, they just walk over and do it. George doesn't want to start giving them iPads or any of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
It's too distracting. And judging from how often or how rarely I see them walk off stage to make a change, it works just the way it is. They can make their adjustments during sound check for the room ambiance, but basically shows go really smooth. It's a pretty slick little system.
Yeah, the show I saw, that nobody touched the desk, the monitor desk at all.
There you go. It's every once in a while, once or twice during the show, somebody will walk over there and make a change, maybe. So it's a great system. And now that we're 100% Dante on all our inputs and 100% analog on all our outputs, it's smooth. It's smoother than it's ever been.
Hang on. You just said all your inputs are Dante?
Yeah, every one of them.
You mean you're going into a Dante box?
Right, we're going into a TO on stage and an RI8 on stage, and then the mics themselves, the Axient mics, have Dante connections also. So everything is all Dante. Every input is Dante through a box of some sort. And then the outputs, I have enough outputs between the QL1 has 2 slots. So that's 16 analog outs there, plus 8 analog outs on the board itself. That's 24. And I have 12 Axients. So that's over the 32 that I need. So I have plenty of open inputs with just those 2 boxes. So it works out pretty well. It's really nicely put together. I'm pretty proud of what we came up with. George said he'll spend the money to do it right. And he did. So
it was sweet. It really was. And it all fits underneath a bus.
Yeah. Well, George did his measurements. He said it's got to have this many rack spaces because it's got to fit under the bus. So, and we did it. We came up with something that works, with the combiners and all the inputs and a drawer for the mics. Yeah. It all works out well.
And George is a pretty smart guy. He figured it all out. His band, Hotel California, they work all the time. He's got his own bus. I mean, today, right now, in Nashville, one of the biggest problems for touring bands is the price of the buses. The bus rentals have gotten so crazily expensive that it's one of the biggest expenses of a touring band right now. But because George owns his own bus, it makes it a lot easier.
A heavy metal band that I've known for a long time, they were just touring, and out of Nashville, there's a company that's put together. It's just a truck, and in the back, it's got beds and bunks in the living room. I forget, Band Camp or Band something.
Yeah, there's a name for that. You're right. And it's a whole business.
Yeah, it's a whole business. So somebody found a way to get out of being into, I mean, like a Prevo now. I mean, a basic shell for a Prevo is $750,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the shell. You haven't done anything to it yet. So, I mean, nowadays, I mean, he was touring in I forget how many bunks they were, but I mean, it looks like a truck, but it's got a door, it's got, a couple of windows, but it's all bunks in the back, and the driver's
generator, yeah.
Yeah, it's got it all. It's got it all. I forget the name. I'm thinking Band Camp.
Does it have a refrigerator in it too, as well, and a stove and a microwave, or is it just a place where the band sleeps?
Fridge, microwave. It's got all that stuff. Yeah.
TV.
Yeah. But it's nowhere near as comfortable as a bus. I mean, it's a truck. So I mean, the suspension is never going to be what a Prevo is.
Right. And do they have chains to keep the guys in bed? All right, put on the chains, let's go.
So can I ask?
What about a toilet, or they just have a hole in the floor?
No. Well, actually, it must be the same rules. No number 2 in the bus. So
yeah.
Okay. No.
So, if I may, David. So when you do go and you've got all the monitors set up and you can be in Dante, you're obviously in Dante. So when you get to the venue, are you carrying a analog split, or do you, for some days, or do you, because not every venue is going to have Dante, is it? Or do you just do an analog split to get to the QL and then front of house?
I think David's frozen.
Split. That's what I saw.
Oh, no, he's not frozen.
I think it'd be analog split, but I'm just...
Yeah. They had, at the gig where I was at, they had an analog split that went to, he was on M32, I believe.
Yeah.
And they had their split mics, and that went into their stage box.
And David carries that. He's busy doing something, but do they...
No, I was looking for the name of that touring sleeper thing.
Was I correct in saying that,
yeah.
David?
What's that?
You guys carry an analog split box with you?
No, we used to. Now we're 100% Dante. Now we get all of our outputs on the cards on the back of the board and the Axions.
Well, okay, but when I saw you had an analog.
We still had it. The last 2 gigs when we finally were able to implement the entire Dante setup.
Yeah.
So now...
So if you go to like this place where I saw you at, you just give them outputs then?
I still have 32 analog splits. They're just not coming from a splitter. They're coming from the devices itself.
Okay.
They're coming from the 24 come out of the console and 12 come out of the Axient receivers.
All right.
And so we don't have any splitter at all. It just analog out. And we had to get new multi-pins and the whole thing to make it work, and now it's ready to go. So that big box with the splitter in it is gone.
Wow!
And those outs
are heavy bastard.
Yeah, Dante does the splitting.
Yeah.
Hi, Bruce.
Hey, look who just showed up! Unbelievable! Thanks for coming.
Yeah, sorry, man. We were rushing to get home. It was. Thank you.
For Christmas, I'm going to buy you a watch. That's it. That's it now.
Yeah, Daddy.
I found the name Bandwagon.
That's right. Bandwagons.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a whole thing.
It's a good name.
And they've got
name for it.
I saw some pictures on their website. They seem to have a boatload of those modified trucks that they have for, and a solution had to come up, because like you said, Jan, the prices, I mean, those buses now are $2 million, I mean, a properly converted bus is $2 million. So you got to pay that, and you got to pay your driver. And then not only that, but with the new rules, you might have to pay for 2 drivers.
Right.
Depending on, the length of the drive. So.
Yeah. No, it gets more and more expensive every day, but eventually, I mean, that's one of the areas where artificial intelligence is really, really moving ahead. Especially in the long haul. Like Volvo's got a truck right now that will go from point A to point B on the highway without a driver. You know,
Oh.
so that's one of the areas like the Uber driver, the Lyft driver. Those people are going to be replaced pretty soon. They've got Waymo. They've got that's the one that stands out in my mind right now. There's a Zook, I think it's called Zook, that's running around LA right now. David,
Yeah,
Bruce.
well, Waymo is there too, but the new one just got approved. I think I don't remember who owns it. Amazon.
The Cybercab just started in Austin, I heard.
Actually, it's starting next in a few weeks, Fred. There's a huge difference between the two, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the difference between the two. Like the Waymo needs like $40,000 worth of gear on top of a car, which they don't own. They have to buy. They have to modify.
Yeah, but it's a Jaguar. It's a nice car.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not disagreeing there. But what I'm saying though is it's geofence
when it's running.
When it's running, actually, and they also have drivers which could take over when they see that the Waymo's in trouble, like wherever at base station, they can take over and drive. But that's another thing. But
so have you heard the latest funny about those cars? I hate to interrupt, but this is so funny.
Go ahead.
So that in LA, they keep those cars in a lot in Santa Monica and they charge, right? Overnight or whatever, because they just drive around when they don't have anybody in them waiting for a call. So they go back to this lot and they charge. Well, this lot happens to be right in the middle of all these condos. Well, these cars talk to each other literally. So when they pull in and out of the holding area, and there's one guy that runs around and plugs all these freaking things in, right? And the cars are all like beep 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 beep, and the lights are flashing, and they're doing all this crazy shit. They're talking to each other, and the people in the condos are having a meltdown because it happens at 3 o'clock in the morning.
There was a story about the ones in San Francisco where they.
Oh my God, I'm just loving it. It's so funny.
They got into a traffic jam, and so they started all honking at each other.
That's worse than living next to a pickleball court. I got to tell you. Oh my God, you know.
They got to paint like middle fingers on the windows or something.
Waymo dragged a person underneath a car in San Francisco.
That's right.
25 feet. But about the charging, I saw a video of somebody who went to the in China to their EV, release. They've already got at least 4 or 5. You just pull your car up, this thing comes out, and your port opens and it plugs in. And the other one is the one that what the Cybercab will have is it's just going to back up onto, and it's going to be charging wirelessly.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Now going back to our industry, I'm thinking, I just had this idea that probably one of the first areas we're going to see, artificial intelligence take over is in the hoists, because it would seem to me that you hook up the hoist and then the hoist would be talking to each other and they would level themselves out.
But, I've seen it in desks though. There are, the brand new HD 96s came out to where you plug in an input and it comes up and it says, I think this is a kick drum. You agree?
Yeah.
And
it goes beyond that, Greg. Listen to this. Yeah. So you gotta press it, you gotta press AI, it kicks in, and then it sees an input, it suggests that it is, we'll say, a kick. If you agree that it's a kick, it will say, yes, I agree it's a kick, and then it's going to offer you, do you want to name it kick? Yes. And then it's going to say, do you have a library of your favorite kick that we want you to look at? Yes, open my kick library, and then you pick that one, and it's going to insert it right there in it for you. So that's there.
And another aspect of it could be scenes. I'll give you so for example, you upload the record into the console analyzes it, and now each song has its own scene.
Well, can you imagine what AI is going to do like in Broadway?
Yeah.
Where it's the same show with all the scenes every day.
But you're right, Jan.
Especially when you come in with automation.
Yeah, you're right, Jan.
So if the show runs off a click track, then the console will run right along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to remember one thing about mixing Broadway is that maybe the scenes and everything goes in, the EQs are all the same, but you never stop moving faders in
Yeah.
Broadway. In between syllables, you're moving faders. Two
Wow.
people face each other. One's got to come down when his line is not on. It's got to come back up when his line is on. It's AI will never cover that.
But
They don't
David,
do
I mean,
Dugan for that?
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Don't you think that the Dugans are going to
You
get
know
in
what?
there at one point?
Dan
Not the
Dugan,
same. It's
Dan
not the
Dugan will
same.
come up with something that works.
No.
Well, I'm sure somebody, I mean, it's all algorithms. I mean, Chris would know more about it than everybody else in the room, seeing he's more of the computer nerd of our group. What do you think,
Yeah.
Chris?
I don't know. All I can say is that I started. It's kind of a long story, but I really don't use Google anymore for search. I just use
Gemini
AI.
or Chat.
Because when I'm typically like, so for instance, the house got burned, we got to go buy new pots and pans. So rather than going onto Google and researching pots and pans, I just go to I just go to Grok AI and say, hey, what's the best stainless steel, copper, and whoosh, it just gives me, it does all my research for me, comes back and gives me a short synthesis, which is less than a page, of the positives and the negatives of each one. And I can just read through that and make a decision rather than having to Google and take notes and write stuff down and do this and come back. It is super powerful.
So,
and they're
answer us
saying that.
this. Do you have a kitchen full of hex clads or made in?
Sorry?
Do you have a kitchen full of hex clad cookware?
Oh, so we
made-in
got
cookware?
so made in is quite good. The other one that's is this Bourgeois Maffaire or whatever. There are some French companies. I mean, the only frying pan you ever want is carbon steel with no coatings, nothing on it. And then I kind of like the all clad copper core. That's a Williams Sonoma product. And we're just waiting for that to come on sale at some point over the next year. But yeah.
You mentioned the artificial intelligence of Grok. I'm curious to know what everybody's using. I'm like playing with every one of them right now. But
so I
Perplexity,
actually ran the same query on two different AIs. I think I did Chat GPT and Grok, and they were amazingly similar results. That there were differences, but I would say that they were highly correlated, the results.
yeah. Well, it depends what results you want.
Think about it, right?
What's that, Diddy?
If you do a query like that and you use the same query, we got to remember that they're searching at pretty much the same places. So it's pretty normal that their information is similar.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that you can ask Grok about its training and it'll respond. So I asked Grok if it actually analyzed music files, waves or MP3s. Did it analyze the actual sound form? And the response was no. That Grok only read critical, read reviews, read summaries, read the lyrics, kind of did all sorts of stuff, but didn't actually, listen, if that's really the word you'd want to use.
If that's what you want, then you need something like Suno.
Precisely.
Every search engine, every AI search is different in their algorithms. They're different in the results, and they're different what they could do. So, for example, if you wanted to create images, one of the best places to go is Copilot by Microsoft. It's amazing compared to like Apple Playground or ChatGPT. For example, Perplexity won't give you any images. It won't create them. But Perplexity now, Perplexity though will interface with your iPhone and is now replacing the S Lady. Yeah. It's just it's amazing. It'll send emails. It'll help your scheduling. It will do a lot of things, and we're in the beginning stages right now. Somebody just sent me a link to a new website, a new web browser called Fellow, Fellou, which was on the waiting list, and and it basically is AI built into the browser. It's I'm not really enjoying it as much, but it's a brand new one and it's just starting. So
But all the browsers are going to get hook-ins for all of that. Chrome has it, and what you call it? What's the Microsoft one? You automatically
Copilot.
get. Yeah, you automatically get. There's a little icon in the upper right said when you're searching for something, says you want Microsoft's AI agent to go ahead and do this for you.
Right. I mean, Claude is another one. Is another service that if you want detailed information, Claude seems to have the most. Could do the best on writing a white paper for you. But I'm just curious. So, what are you guys playing with over here, and how do you see it interfacing in our business? I mean, really, that's what it comes down to.
Oh, I think at some point, depending on how these interfaces are written, you're just going to basically the process that Joshua described of going in, doing a scan, doing this thing, that's all going to be, you just turn it on and it's just going to say, are you at the venue? And then you're going to say yes. And then it'll say, okay, come back in 5 minutes. And, it'll have completely looked at the noise floor and the frequency use and the spectrum and where you are geographically. And it'll come back and say, here's a list of usable frequencies. Do you want to use these? And then you'll say yes. And then boom. Off you go.
You're gonna
have but I think it's going to be more than that. There you go.
You're gonna invent the little powered chair that the Wally sound guy rides around in.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you, what are you seeing it anywhere? I mean, as a burgeoning sound company in the Northwest right now, people must be approaching you. Is anybody approaching you in regards to, hey, we got an idea for AI, we'd like you to implement it for us?
No. Nobody who's actually behind a console and has said a thing about it.
Curious, Kurt, have you deployed the X80s yet and heard them?
No, I'm gonna send some to Ben for delay hangs later in the week or next week when we start. So I mean, I've heard them. I just haven't. I'm too busy to set up speakers just to listen to the job.
No. I mean, as part of your job, I'm just curious how that'll go. That'll be.
Well, they were great at NAM, and we're gonna do demos up here for a couple of consultants. There's some projects we're working on. I might have a chance.
So, Chris, the side fills, is that what you're going to use them for? You're going to use them as side fills?
Delay hangs.
Oh, delay hangs. Okay.
They're too good.
By the way, have you guys seen his Facebook post on his renovation of the MSL3s?
Yeah.
Good job, my friend. Good job.
I got one sitting out here. Hang on. Those are going to be the side fills. An MSL3 pointed right at the Rockstar with 2 Meyer 900 stacked next to it.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So there's, there we go.
Take me down memory lane, please.
Pulled all the handles out. Did a little body work. This one's been repainted, but I gotta fly it from the winch and start dealing with the front of the thing. And I found out today I can still get the foam from Meyer. So I'll put
I
have foam on it.
I have some old MTS 4As, and I was talking to them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, just let us know. We'll get you foam." Couldn't believe it.
I need to come up with a couple more processors though. I've got the processors for the UMs, which are just going to be the backup to the backup wedges. But I'm going to build 2 sets of these side fills, so I need 4 processors, which are not as easy to find as you'd think.
Yeah.
What do you do for reconing?
Meyer doesn't recone.
You got to ship it to them.
No, they don't recone at all because of tolerance issues. So some people try to do aftermarket, but you basically buy a new driver.
So what do you do with do you recycle? Do you send them the old one for them to recycle the magnets?
Out of the 100 and something plus Meyer speakers I have, I think I've blown 2 in 25 years. So it's not really...
That's a good ratio.
Well, self-powered, built-in limiting. It's designed to do what it does, and you can't really overdrive it because the amp is designed not to.
Right.
And the Galileo has presets now to protect it as well. So
Nope. There's no limiting of any kind in a Galaxy.
no,
Nope.
there's not an option to.
No limiting of any type.
No, you can actually smoke your speakers if you set your Galileo incorrectly.
Well,
Yeah,
now,
you'll
okay.
drive-
So there's no presets like in the Galileo. This is what we're driving, and then this is what needs
Yes,
to be the ceiling.
those are presets that will bring in phase filters, all pass filters, product integration that'll make things that didn't have a PTC of 125 or something like that. It'll force it to do it. So there's product integration. There's starting points for different cardioid arrays that'll give you the time you want for the inverted rear fire or whatever that. So there's presets like that, but there are no limiters or crossovers in a Galaxy. The limiters and crossovers are in the box
Okay.
as speaker protection. If you want limiting for aesthetic purposes, get yourself a compressor.
Good.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's a very informative, and it takes us to the hour that we've been on the air. I'd say it's time to get off the air and, let's talk amongst ourselves without anyone else knowing what we're about to say. That way we can get into the deep dish and the dirt, the real dirt that I want to talk about. But before I do that, I have to say something that has nothing to do about what we've talked about all day, but I am so happy to hear this, that Major League Baseball is going to allow Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson to be able to be voted on to be entered into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I think that is phenomenal because the guy deserves to be in the both of those guys deserve to be in the Hall of Fame for sure.
What were you going to
Nobody
say,
has an
Gregory?
opinion on that, hey? Anybody want to bet on that? Anybody? Nobody? Okay.
It's all good.
Well, with that, let's remind everybody this has been Thinking Out Loud with Friends. Actually, I think it's been more Thinking Out Loud with Sound Men and talking about sound, which we might have to change the name of the show. Talking about sound. That's it.
It changes every show.
It changes every show. Talking about sound, baby. Talking about sound. Anyway, you make it happen. Remember to click the like button. Share the show with your friends, especially the ones you really love. Don't give it to anybody you don't like, okay? Just give it to the ones you like. There you go. That's the way I say it. And remember, you make it happen. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next week for our 260th consecutive